What is going on, guys? Matt O'Leary back with another video reacting to Robert Saleh's press conference and some really interesting news that we got on some injuries, some guys playing time, and everyone's favorite talking point, the offensive line. Let's start with the injuries, which I thought for the most part was positive news on all these fronts. So heading into today, Zuerlein, Adams, Brown, Becton, JFM, no practice. They are not practicing today. It's a rest day for Brown, Becton, JFM. Those three are not in concern for not playing on Sunday. This is all part of the plan. Would anticipate all three of those guys play. JFM hip is what came up. Zuerlein and Adams are really the only two that are a concern not to go. So Adrian Amos could see a bigger role. He's the one who came in and filled in for Tony Adams when he went down with the injury against the Dallas Cowboys. He just laid a really big hit on CeeDee Lamb and was shaken up. So we'll keep a close eye on that. Zuerlein, we've been told that we will have a better idea on Friday if he will be good to go or not. Unsure right now, right? Obviously, you have to wait a couple more days to figure that one out, but luckily the New York Jets have a placeholder there. Michael Carter II, Quincy Williams, and Breece Hall will all be limited in practice today. So if they are limited in practice, that's a great sign for the New York Jets for them playing. Michael Carter II is a really good slot corner, and we saw a pretty big difference when Brandon Echols had to come in and play, and he played in the slot. It was not nearly to the same level that Michael Carter II usually plays. Quincy Williams has had a really good start to the season. He's flying around making plays. Glad to see that he more than likely will be back into the lineup as well. And Breece Hall, expected, right? Like, they've kind of taken him slow in practice, which again makes sense in his recovery process, but pretty good news all around when really of that big crop of injuries that you had from this game, Zuerlein and Adams are the only ones that you really should be concerned about going into Sunday. But more information on both those guys expected throughout the week. As for the offensive line, that's a favorite topic of conversation for right now. No changes to the offensive line coming at this moment, which is really not much of a surprise. I thought it was always kind of optimistic if you thought they were going to make any sort of changes 2 weeks into the season. I think that they absolutely should consider making changes after this game if things continue to go poorly. I don't think you could wait a quarter of the season to go by and for you to be like, oh, well, I guess, this isn't working now. But a 3-game sample size, I think, is a big enough sample size to continue to make changes to your team that are necessary. Robert Saleh also thinks Duane Brown will be better, says he'll be fine. Really tough matchup against Micah Parsons, was good in week 1. I don't know if I go as far as good. I've seen countless times on social media, in the comments here, people blaming Duane Brown for the Aaron Rodgers injury. Not the case. Listen, I understand that you want a scapegoat and you want someone to be mad at, but Duane Brown ran the play exactly how it was supposed to go. It was a cut block. He cut blocked him. A lane was open, and then we know what happened, obviously, after the play. It looked bad because he's laying on the ground and someone is sacking Aaron Rodgers, but it was just, there was a miscommunication between Aaron Rodgers getting the ball out, and we don't have to revisit history now, but just kind of wanted to point that one out there because I, for 2 weeks straight, just about have seen that it's Duane Brown's fault that Aaron Rodgers is hurt, which I don't think is fair on him. But it's also not unfair to say his play needs to get better. Robert Saleh is convinced that it will. I am not as convinced. I did a video yesterday talking about what the Jets can do with this offensive line, the kind of changes that they could make. There are absolutely things that they could do better on the offensive line. I think Joe Tippmann watch is absolutely on, whether that is at center or guard. He can play both. We know McGovern can play both. Wes Schweitzer, I guess, technically could play both, so they could get creative and really shake things up with this offensive line if they feel the need to. Through 2 games, hasn't been great. We'll see how it holds up against the New England Patriots on Sunday. Some good news that Robert Saleh said that fans have been asking for. He is saying to expect more playing time from Jeremy Ruckert and Breece Hall. No effing duh, right? Hello. Every single fan's takeaway that I've talked to, pretty much the big thing was, why did Breece Hall have 4 carries, which never made sense, and why was your best blocking tight end on the field for only 5 plays? He should have went full Buddy Ryan on Nathaniel Hackett at the half and said, get those guys out on the field. But he didn't, and now, by going public with this on Wednesday, it seems like, hey, we got to do a better job of getting these guys on the field. Didn't say anything about Mecole Hardman or Xavier Gibson, which you can make the case those guys as well should be utilized a little bit more. But for now, sticking with Ruckert and Hall, the reason why it's so important that both of those guys are on the field, for Breece Hall, he is far and away the Jets' best running back on the roster. It's not remotely close. The comparison with Dalvin Cook right now is a very wide gap. We'll see if Michael Carter's playing time goes up because of Dalvin's struggles for the first 2 weeks of the season. But Breece Hall, just even isolating from that, it shouldn't be a 50-50 split with Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook at this time. Breece Hall should be pulling away a little bit more. And I'm not saying run him 20 times. That's unfair or unrealistic. But there's no reason that he can't be 10 to 13 rushes a game and maybe an extra couple of catches mixed in as well. And for Ruckert, he's the best, as I said just a couple seconds ago. He is the best blocking tight end on the roster. It only makes sense for your best blocking tight end on the roster to get out there and to play. If you watch the film or just even watch the game against the Dallas Cowboys, CJ Uzomah in the run game as a blocker was downright abysmal. No, like he has, in my opinion, Jeremy Ruckert has absolutely surpassed CJ Uzomah. He's a veteran. He's great for the room. I understand all these things. I get it. There's intangibles that go into having a guy like CJ around. I don't care how much money he makes. I don't care that he's a veteran. He's not as good as Jeremy Ruckert. Ruckert has to get on the field, and I'm glad Robert Saleh called that one out. And also, my final takeaway is it doesn't seem like Robert Saleh is concerned specifically about the losing streak to the Patriots, and it's 0 for their last 14.
We got to focus on the moment. I get what happened in the past, but looking in the past and dwelling on the past and what could have been is just taking away from what we can do now. And what we can do now is prepare to be the best we can and focus on us and how we need to execute to be able to put our best foot forward on Sunday. And that's really where the focus has to be. Yes, it's New England and it's a division game and the past is the past, but all our focus is on today, trying to be our best version of ourselves so we can find a way to get this one on Sunday.
0 for their last 14. I did many videos talking about why I think it's important for the New York Jets to come away with the win in this game. And I get kind of where he's coming from, right? Like, he can't control what happened the years before. It's all about the now and building better for now. But even in the 2+ years now that Robert Saleh has been here as the New York Jets head coach, he's 0-4 to him. And last year, look, there were 2 very winnable games. I don't know how he's not chomping at the bit to get out there and finally beat Bill Belichick and the Patriots. It matters. Like, I know that they being the Patriots are supposed to be the cellar dweller of this division, right? You would imagine. They're 0-2. You have a chance to put them to 0-3 and effectively end their season before you get to October. It is a really big deal for the New York Jets to win this game, to one, get back on track after an abysmal loss. You don't want to drop 2 games in a row, especially with the quarterback issues and offensive issues that they've been facing. So defense needs to play better, obviously, as we know. That, I think, is the big thing. Offense has to do enough, and I think they win the game, but beating Bill Belichick and the Patriots matters to Jet fans. And I know it might not matter to him as much as it matters to the fans, but it would go a long way in winning this fan base over, of finally getting over the hump in that department. I don't think, the fans are overreacting to this game. And I'm not necessarily saying that he's underreacting. I get it. It's like 1 week at a time, 1 game at a time. They're focused on, the task at hand. But how could you not let that slip into your mind? Especially because we've seen him talk about closing the gap in the division, and they have gotten crushed in the division year over year over year over year. Crushed in the division. What'd they go last year? 2-4 in the AFC East. That's unacceptable. And they were 0-6 in years before that. You can't go winless in your division. Obviously, they are not going to go winless because they already beat the Buffalo Bills. And I think they're good enough to, split with most of these teams, if not sweep the New England Patriots. Hopefully. I was a little bit more confident when Aaron Rodgers was around, but maybe that's a conversation for another day. Still, this game is important. And I think the fans would appreciate a victory from the New York Jets. But there we go. Those are my biggest takeaways from Robert Saleh's presser. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm Matt O'Leary, and I'll catch you next time.